Hey guys, it's Miss Weston, and I am so excited to be here with you today. It's the day that we've been waiting for so long. We get to finally start the Watsons Go to Birmingham together, and I would like to give a special shout out to Miss Ngali's class and the Prenda students who are going to be joining us, and I'm really glad that we get to work together and read this novel together. It's one of my favorite books. We're going to start our lesson today by doing our quick write. So you have two choices for today. Choice number 1. Write about a problem that you were afraid to solve. This could be a problem at home. It could be a problem with a friend that you've had. It could be a problem on a test. But think about what was a problem that you had that you were nervous or weren't sure or afraid about how to solve it. And the second question, and I'm sorry because I can see that my face is cutting off the question, but it says, what do you think it means to have courage? So for that prompt, you can choose to write about what it looks like, sounds like, and feels like to have courage. And I'm really interested to hear what you have to say because that is one of the themes in our novel that we're reading and what courage looks like and how we use courage in our lives. So go ahead and go to your packet. You should be on the chapter 1 page, and you're going to write your journal response here in a few sentences, pause the video, and then come back and join us when you're ready to move on. Okay, if you are here with us, again, that means that you finished your journal prompt. And if you'd like to share that with Ms. Ngali or I, you can send it to us on Dojo, Google Classroom, email. We'd love to hear what you have to say. So we're going to start now by writing down some of the definitions for our vocabulary words. Every chapter will have at least 3 vocabulary words. So the first word that we have is delinquent. The definition of delinquent is a young person who has committed minor crimes. So in the book, the way that they use the word delinquent is kind of like as a joke or like a roast. They're roasting the older brother by calling him a delinquent. So for example, I got ding dong ditched yesterday by neighborhood delinquents. And then I put in a little gif of somebody ringing someone's doorbell and then running away. So that's what the word delinquent means. So you're going to go ahead and go over to your key vocabulary here. It's your first word. Write down the definition. And if you can think of an illustration to sketch, go ahead and do that. And then come back to the video when you're ready for the next word. Okay, the next word we have is hilarious. Hilarious means a person or an event that's really funny. So for example, it was hilarious when Mariella would try to take Miss Weston's coffee every day. It always made me laugh because she would try to figure out a different way to do it. And then I put in a picture of somebody laughing, Donald Duck laughing really hard. So hilarious is just something that's very funny. So go ahead and go back to your packet, write down the definition of hilarious, draw a quick picture, pause the video, and then come back when you're ready. Okay, our third and final word for chapter 1 today is automatically. Automatically means something you do that doesn't require a lot of thinking. So for example, at Eisenhower, when a teacher gives you the no noise signal, they raise their hand, they say, give me 5, you automatically should give the signal back. So I put in a picture here of everybody responding to the no noise signal, or a GIF, excuse me. So go ahead and write down the definition of automatically. Again, something you do that doesn't require a lot of thinking. And then come back and join us when you are ready to move on. Okay, now that you are back, I'm going to give you some background information before we start reading the chapter so that you're able to picture in your mind while you're reading what the setting of the novel looks like. So first, there's 2 settings in the novel, and in chapter 1, they talk about both of them. They talk about Flint, Michigan, and Birmingham, Alabama. So I just want to show you where Flint, Michigan is on a map so you can see how far away it is from Eisenhower. So if we were going to fly, which I know we can't do right now, but if we were going to fly to Flint, Michigan, it would take us about 5 hours and 20 minutes. You can see it's up here. It's kind of almost very close to the border of Canada right here. So Flint is a city in Michigan right next to Canada. So we know that Canada is a very cold place. So we can imagine that Flint is also a very cold place. And if we wanted to drive, if we were going to take a field trip to Flint, Michigan, it would take us 29 hours. So probably about 2 days of driving in order to get there. So this is where Flint, Michigan is on a map. It's northeast of Arizona. So just think about that when they're talking about it in the text. The second location, the second setting that they discuss in the chapter is Birmingham, Alabama. Birmingham is a city that's in the south in Alabama. Oops. Let's just change it right here. So Birmingham, Alabama, if we were going to go there from Eisenhower, it would take us about 24 hours to drive. So you can see that it's actually right straight across from Eisenhower. Here's Eisenhower, here's Birmingham. If we were going to drive straight across for 24 hours, so a full day or probably 2 days, then we would get to Birmingham, Alabama. So when we compare and we see there's Birmingham, we can compare and see how far away Flint and Birmingham are from each other. And they are about an 11-hour drive. So it would not take as long to get from Flint to Birmingham or Birmingham to Flint as it would to get from Eisenhower to either of those locations. So just something to keep in mind. The setting takes place in Flint, Michigan, but the family, the mom and dad, they're originally from Birmingham, so they drove to Flint, and that's what they're going to be talking about in this chapter. So hopefully that helps you. I also want to show you some photos. So I'm going to go into full screen. It's going to take my face away for a little bit, but I think it's really important for you to see these photos. So this is a photo of Flint, Michigan in 1963. You can see that it says Vehicle City because one of the main exports or one of the main jobs that you could have in Flint, Michigan at that time was working in a factory to build a car. So that's something that's very important to know. So here's a picture in Flint, Michigan in 1859, 1963, around that period of time. This is a factory where people are actually building the cars. So you can see that's a really, really big warehouse to be able to fit multiple cars at once and be able to put those together. And as I said, it is a very, very cold place. So here are some pictures of what the snow looked like in 1963. And you can tell that this is kind of an older picture because you can see the style of the car there is very different. Now in Alabama at this time, we are talking about the Jim Crow era, the segregation era, where people of color and white people were forced to use separate facilities, separate restaurants, separate schools, separate hospitals. If you're in Miss Weston's class, you know this from when we read about Jackie Robinson, and this is exactly the same time period from when we read that book about Jackie Robinson. So anything that you can remember about that is going to help you for this book. But if you're new and you didn't read that or you're not familiar, in Birmingham, Alabama, you can see there are separate restrooms for people of color, and there are separate water fountains for people of color as well. And you can see that during this time was actually what's known as the Civil Rights Movement, and people of color, particularly Black Americans, are advocating for themselves so that they can have the same rights as other people. So when you look, this is a photo from a protest. You can see equal opportunity and human dignity. And if you're in Miss Weston's class, you remember that the word dignity means respect. So you can see from in this photo in Birmingham, Alabama, which is one of the main places where the civil rights protests were happening in the 1960s, you can see that they're advocating to be treated fairly, to be treated with respect, and to have equal opportunities. This is a photo of police responding to the protesters. You can see that those are firemen there. They have a hose, and they're actually trying to get the people to leave by hosing them off of the sidewalk. And if you're in Miss Weston's class, you know that that violates our constitutional rights as well as some of the rights in the Universal Declaration for Human Rights that said that we have the right to peacefully assemble. And from this picture, you can see that they were peacefully assembled, but they were still targeted, and their protest was silenced by the law enforcement officials during this time. This is a photo, again, of another protest. These are students who protested. They decided to walk out of school and to protest as well. And so when we read the book, this will come up, and you will actually learn a little bit about that protest. So those are all the photos that I have to share with you. If you're interested in learning more, I recommend looking up the civil rights movement. Jackie Robinson is a really good person to read about because he really worked to champion civil rights. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X. These are all people that you can look up and research if you're interested in learning more about civil rights. And I also have a list of civil rights leaders that I can share with Miss Ngali, and we can post in our Google Classroom if you would like to learn and read more about them. So now that we have kind of a big picture idea of what Flint, Michigan looked like, what Birmingham, Alabama looked like during the setting of our novel, we get to get started. I'm so excited. So let's start just by talking about our purpose for reading. Our purpose today is to pay attention to the family relationships that are described in the chapter. So we're going to be introduced to the family, and we're really going to get to know how they interact with each other, the siblings, their names, things like that. So I really want you to pay attention to how the relationships are described and be thinking in your mind, is the Watsons family similar to your family? Do you guys have some things that are in common, or are they different from your family? So what's going to happen now is this video is actually going to end in just a moment. And if you're watching this on YouTube, the very next video that comes up for you will be the audio. So you'll be able to just listen to the audio part 1 and 2. YouTube only lets me put up 15-minute videos, so I had to split the audio in half. So you'll be able to listen to part 1 and part 2. And then the video that comes after that will be the second part of this screencast. So all you have to do once this video ends, read along with the audio, and as soon as you're done, it'll take you right back to me and my direction. So enjoy the book, and I really can't wait to hear what you guys think about it, and I'm just so excited that we get to do this together. So I'll see you in a little bit. Enjoy your chapter.